Welcome to another edition of Flea Market Fantasy, the world's second greatest Bronze Age era comic book podcast. Joining me as always is new Mike Grell, Kevin Jank.
I'm here. I have frozen nips, but I am here.
That is not a line from the book. That's just a comment on Jank's personal life.
Cold weather. And my apartment's terrible heating.
Yes, it is the holiday season here. We're in December, and we were just discussing before the show. I was like, wait, was I supposed to pick a holiday book? And he told me, no, it's okay, because we don't do late. It's not like Shocktober.
Yeah. So. No, we don't have a gimmick for December.
Yeah. But really. You may be choosing a holiday book at the end of the episode.
That's the rumor on the street there.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that.
Typical format a little bit, but I think we'll all be better off for it.
Oh, no. I'm worried. All right, but this week, we're doing a book we've never discussed. Jon Sable, Freelance, issue 7 from 1983. This is a creator-owned comic by Mike Grell.
Yeah.
Who we've discussed on the show a few times before, but I know we did a Green Arrow Longbow Hunters issue.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I remember him from. I don't remember, maybe you did other books with him before, like when Mike L was on the show.
I can't remember, though, actually. I think the Longbow Hunters may have been it, the more I think about it.
Might be the only one, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll talk about Mike Grell and we'll get into this book. But before we do that, let's remind everybody, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We're up to 310 subscribers.
Ooh.
So yeah, we're making progress. And again, if we get to 500, Jank will make me read The Dark Knight every week for a month.
Yeah. Oh, what a glorious time that'll be.
So hopefully it never comes to that. Also, I have a book out there called Monkey Flip about a chimp detective. And I will keep plugging it until we get to 600 subscribers. So then I can stop.
I'm just glad you were able to do the podcast tonight, because if this book taught me anything, it's that kids' book authors make tons of money. So
that was my biggest complaint about this book.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. So Jon Sable, Freelance. This is a book that Jank and I both stumbled across independently, though we saw it on the same list of top 10 books from 1984.
Very strange that we both came across it in the same manner.
Yeah, because like in DC during that time, they would run that ad. I forget, who was the organization, or was it a fan voting poll, or who named, was it like Comic Buyer's Guide or something, or I don't know.
Yeah, it must have been. This was way before Wizard magazine or anything like that, so yeah, it must have been just some kind of...
But there would be an ad in those DC books of that era, and it would say, look at the top 10 books. And because Swamp Thing was number one.
Highlight which ones were there, yeah.
Yeah. And then Atari Force was like 7 or 8.
I think Teen Titans was probably on there. That was like the Wolfman Perez era.
Yeah, DC had about 5 books or so on there, and they highlighted the ones they had. And Jon Sable.
Power Pack was on there for some reason.
Yeah.
I was like, what's going on? The Power Pack is doing so well.
But Jon Sable, Freelance, it was from First Comics, who we've discussed. First Comics did My Beloved American Flag, Howard Chaykin.
Okay.
Yeah, so a small independent publisher, but yeah, it was creator-owned by Mike Grell. It came out in 1983. And he created Jon Sable as a cross between James Bond and Mike Hammer.
Oh.
Sable is a former Olympic athlete and African big game hunter turned mercenary after his family is murdered by a bunch of filthy poachers.
Oh, no, those poachers.
They're the worst.
Why can't they stick to poaching eggs?
I don't know. Yeah, so he was an athlete at the 72 Munich Games, I believe, and he met his wife there. I guess she was an athlete or something. I don't know. And they married.
He's quite old, so I don't know. He seems a little too old to be in the Olympics 10 years before this.
I think that's the way Grell's drawing him. It makes him look old. I guess he's in his mid to late 30s here, right?
Oh, wow. He's kind of
maybe 40s. I don't know. But, back in those days, people looked older.
Yeah, that's true. We've learned that from the movies we watch on the LCS hockey show.
But, so they went to, Africa because he wanted to run a sanctuary or something and give safari tours. I don't know why. And then the poachers murdered his family. So he got mad. He took out his revenge on those poachers. But I guess he was wanted for murder in Africa or something for doing that. So he came to the U.S. and he masquerades as a children's author. Like that's his.
Yeah. That's his day job. Yeah.
But he's not proud of it. So he wears a disguise and he writes under the name B.B. Flem. And I don't know if that's an Ian Fleming, thing, nod to.
Yeah, probably.
But
kids like the word phlegm.
he wears a crazy blonde-haired wig and mustache when he's B.B. Flem.
And big, Weird Al in the 80s glasses.
And he's also very famous as a children's author. Like, his books are about leprechauns.
Of course. I remember that phase where all the kids were into leprechauns.
Yes.
They're bigger than He-Man, Thundercats, or Ninja Turtles.
But this guy is he's such a huge hit as a children's author that he's appearing on Johnny Carson regularly.
Yeah. Wow. What an alternate reality this is.
So this guy, he's making money, but he can't give up the day job of writing these children's books because he's making so much money from it.
See, Mike Grell Monkey Books is not where it's at. Leprechauns.
Oh, yes. Leprechaun Detective. My next book. But,
that'd be amazing.
Yeah, he is doing gangbusters with the children's books. But again, his real, it's the old switcheroo. Instead of the average guy who's, how do I want to say this? like Peter Parker, the normal guy.
Syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah, he becomes Spider-Man. He's the Spider-Man who masquerades as Peter Parker, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. So that's the basic premise here for Jon Sable. And now he's just, he still works as a mercenary. That's what he loves to do. That's who he is. So he takes jobs. He's kind of like the A-Team. When people need help, they reach out to Jon Sable.
Yeah.
No one else can help.
He reminds me a lot of like Dominic Fortune, except he didn't fight any Eternity Centuries in this, sadly.
Wow, I didn't even think the whole time I'm reading this, I'm like, this reminds me of somebody. Oh yeah, Dominic Fortune. That's exactly who it reminds me of. That's pretty good. So, the series ran for 56 issues, ending in February of 1988. Grell drew all the covers and wrote every issue, but issue 43 was the last time he did the interior art.
Oh.
And when he left the series, then they had another series called just Sable, and that ran for like 27 issues, but he wasn't involved in it at all. So then they came back and they did Mike Grell's Sable, which was just a reprint of the original 10 issues of this series. But I don't know why there must have been some sort of a dispute with First Comics that they brought the title back without him. I don't know.
Or I don't know. I wonder if it's just one of those things where he didn't want to do it anymore, but they still wanted to keep making money.
Yeah. Because he owned the idea, so he had to have let them do it. But I don't know. Anyway, Jon Sable.
He tried to distance himself from it, that type of thing.
But Jon Sable was one of the first dark, gritty heroes of the 1980s. People credit him with helping to usher in what would you like? Daredevil Frank Miller's Daredevil kind of put a new twist, like a grittier twist on heroes, and then Jon Sable, and then you got your Dark Knight coming in after that, and so he's considered one of the pioneers of this dark era of heroes. Okay. Because he would actually kill people. He would shoot people and kill them. And
that's for sure. Or throw torches at them like 20 feet.
Burn them alive. Yeah. Yeah, I guess nowadays we're reading this doesn't seem, but I guess in 83 it was kind of, this is kind of groundbreaking.
Okay, that puts some context on why this was on that list, because otherwise I couldn't quite understand.
Well, I think the reasons why it's on the list, the characterizations and all the personal relationships of the characters, and you don't really get that if you're just reading one issue, you don't really.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the ongoing.
His fencing mentor in this issue that I'm sure is off later on.
I don't think it does. I don't know. I don't know if that guy is even back anymore. But like the relationships with his literary agent, who's a smoking hot lady named Eden, and even the lady who draws his children's books, who provides the art. But there's like a lot of backstories and characters development and stuff. I think that's why it was recognized as good writing and everything. But you know who loved it there, Jank, is a fellow named Gene Simmons.
Holy hell.
Yeah, Gene Simmons from Kiss fame. He loved Jon Sable. He loved it so much he bought the media rights to it. And he wanted to turn it into a film starring Pierce Brosnan of Remington Steele. How about that, huh? Before Pierce became James Bond, he could have been Jon Sable. But
wow, what a world that would be.
The movie never happened. But Gene Simmons, he actually played Jon Sable in an unaired TV pilot. That would be something to watch. Gene Simmons is Jon Sable.
He just sticks his tongue out all the time. Like, this is weird. I don't remember doing that in the comic.
But Sable did become a TV show. Not with Gene Simmons.
Did it?
Although I think he was probably still a producer on this or something. But it was a TV show for ABC in 1987, and it lasted 7 episodes.
That sounds about right.
But the series is significant for the acting debuts of 2 foxy ladies. Renee Russo played his literary agent, Eden, and it was her first acting job. And then in episode 1, Laura Flynn Boyle of Twin Peaks fame played a kidnap victim, and it was her first acting role.
Look at that.
Yeah. So that's something.
But Renee Russo and Pierce Brosnan together again. Weren't they in some movie in the 90s, like that painting stealing one?
Thomas Crown Affair? Is that what that was?
Yeah, I think they were both in that.
That sounds right. But the thing that the TV show screwed up was, like we were talking about, you know, the old switcheroo with the hero secret identity. They did it the normal way. So he was actually a children's author who was proud to be a children's author, and that's who he was. And then at night, he was a vigilante going out on the streets. So,
well, I mean, I guess you can spin it that way. He is both people, and as long as he's not.
But I think the quirk. I think the quirk is that he's a mercenary who only does the children's stuff because it makes him money. Like that's different and unique. Where a children's author who goes out, like we've seen that's every story basically, a normal guy who does things, you know. So,
like, what was the story on the TV show though? Is it just like he was a mercenary originally and then got into it, or he just was a mild-mannered book writer who just decided
became a mercenary
to fight crime? Yeah,
yeah, I think that's the way they told it. So kind of like it gutted the whole heart of the idea.
Yeah, that's no good.
So it only lasted 7 episodes, and although I don't know, I was looking around, some people seem to like it. I don't know, like I read a couple comments where they're like, "Hey, it was getting pretty good right when it got canceled." So I don't know.
Oh, yeah, it took a while to find his book. Who played him on that show?
A guy I never heard of, Louis Van Bergen.
Oh, he's very good.
Yeah, I don't know. He's been in a lot of stuff. Trying to think what he was in Bugsy. He played Joe Adonis, a gangster in Bugsy.
Oh.
But
he sounds like the kind of guy who'd be on an episode of Pacific Blue.
Probably. He has a lot of credits, like little TV shows and stuff over the years. So, but yeah, couldn't place him. And hey, good news, Jank. There's another TV show in development right now.
Wow, we're on the cusp of something here.
Yeah,
we're getting our fingers on the pulse.
I think it was announced like in April of this year that there's another series in development. So, fingers crossed. Yeah.
Hopefully they get it right this time. They bring back Gene Simmons.
All right, we've talked about Grell before. Maybe Ace Frehley will be Jon Sable this time. We've talked about Grell before, but just to recap some important points about him. Born in 1947, and he entered comics in 1972 as an assistant on the Brenda Starr comic strip. And in 1973, he moved to New York and started doing fill-in stuff for DC on characters such as Aquaman, Batman, Green Arrow, and the Phantom Stranger.
Hey, we just did that.
Yeah. In 1975, he helped launch the Batman Family title. And he and Denny O'Neil brought back the Green Lantern Green Arrow series in 1976. And I had a bunch of those when I was a kid. And from 76 to 78, he drew Green Lantern and also Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes while writing and drawing his own book, Warlord. Warlord was like a big hit, I think, at the time. And from what I recall, Michael and I discussed it once before on here, probably when we did the other Mike Grell episode. But I think it's about a guy who's like a pilot or something, and he gets thrown back into barbarian times or something. So it's like a modern guy in a Conan kind of world.
Back into Conan, yeah.
I think so.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think I've seen ads for that and when looking for other books. So yeah, we might have to do that one of these days.
From 81 to 83, he wrote and drew the Tarzan comic strip in newspapers. It's odd. In 1987, Grell did Green Arrow, Longbow Hunters, and that's probably his most famous work. He rejuvenated Green Arrow. He kind of saw him as a modern-day hunter in the big city. That's kind of the pitch. He's a hunter in the big city.
Yeah.
Here's something I did not realize until this. Grell worked on Iron Man from 2002 to 2003, and he wrote the story that saw Tony Stark reveal his identity to the world, that he's Iron Man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they kept that going for a long-ass time before he finally came out. Like, oh, he's just my bodyguard. Don't worry about it. But who is he?
Yeah, it's just a guy.
Yeah. You don't need to know his name.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal, though, because one of the great things about that first movie was at the end there when,
he played right. Yeah. Like, we're not going to mess around with this stuff.
It's a great ending.
Yeah.
In 2002, he published a Sable novel, a prose novel, so that's something. I think I read something, there were supposed to be 8 of them, but he only did 1, so.
He got bored real quick.
It's not have been the biggest hit. But, so anything else about Mike Grell you would like to mention there, Jack?
I mean, maybe you want to reach out to him, see if you could, get 1-9 Publishing could put out the rest of those Sable.
That's right. 1-9 Books could put out the 7 missing Jon Sable novels.
Yeah.
But, all right. Well, I was going to say, if anything about Jon Sable, you don't know anything about Jon Sable. This is your first experience with Jon Sable.
Well, I do believe it's pronounced Sable.
It is not pronounced Sable. But he gets his name. You notice in the logo, which we'll talk about now when you break down the cover, like the sable are like antelope horns coming up the sable, because that's a type of antelope, a sable antelope.
Oh, okay.
And he's a big game hunter and all that, so.
Makes so much sense. If I'd ever heard of that. And
you're not up on your antelope? Come on, everyone knows they're antelopes.
I've fallen off the antelope game. It's passed me by.
Yeah. All right, well, let's look at the cover here, Jank.
Okay, it's a largely black and white cover with some splashes of color there. But up in the top left, we got First Comics. There's like a little number 1 behind the F. And then we got the Jon Sable Freelance logo here. It's like a yellow box. Then it's just got the Jon in, regular looking letters. Then the Sable is big and red and fancy, and it's got those antelope horns on there in the B and the L. And then the Freelance is right below it. It's also still in the box, but it's got that same kind of the lettering that the Jon has. It's just kind of normal. So
yeah,
really emphasizing that Sable there.
I think the yellow box is kind of giving the impression of a business card.
Oh.
Because later in this issue, we see him with his business card, and it has a similar thing going on.
Yeah, I was hoping they were going to go full American Psycho on that card. No. Then we got up in the top right corner, it says December number 7, $1. So it's not bad for an independent comic. And then we get the cover itself. Like I said, mostly black and white. There's kind of some, like a wall on the right side there. And then we got Jon Sable, who's wearing his, it's kind of a weird head sock kind of thing he's got going on. Kind of like Gambit or Havoc in the 90s, kind of. And then he's kind of wearing almost like a cat burglar type outfit under that. and some fancy boots. And he's got a gun in one hand and a knife in the other hand. So I don't know what kind of fight he's fighting there. Are you fighting long distance or up front?
Both.
And then we got a sexy naked lady just kind of sitting there lounging. She's kind of got her knee up so she's covering her boobs so you can't see anything. Yeah. Very, very tastefully done. And you get the city in the background, and then there's kind of a big red bullseye. They got a little splash of color there for the bullseye, and then down in the bottom it says the target.
Yeah, the woman's head is in the center of the bullseye, so
yeah,
she's the target. And I like this cover. It's one of the reasons I picked this issue, just because I like the cover. It reminds me very much of like a Jim Steranko cover.
Yes, I could totally see that. Yeah, the black and white makes it kind of interesting. It makes it pop a little more.
Yep, the black and white and just the red for the target. And now Grell's art, I'm not a huge fan of Grell's art in general, just because a lot of his figures are looking flat. The anatomy's kind of erect a lot of times. And that's exactly what Sable looks like on this cover. Like, that left arm's a travesty.
Yes. Yes. He looks like the butler in Scary Movie 2.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. That left arm.
It's he works out a lot with that, and also stretches out the right one apparently, but that left one.
Yeah. And we should mention his gun. He uses a signature gun. I guess it's an old Mauser, but it kind of looks like Han Solo's gun in Star Wars a little bit. Like,
yeah. Han Solo edition blaster.
Yeah. And when you mentioned like the thing he wears on his head, his hair's out. But, like, if you see him from the front, it just has, like, some black lines cutting into his cheeks and around his jaw, kind of.
Like, he couldn't decide if he wanted an actual costume. He's like, this is good enough. At least I look kind of stupid.
At least he doesn't wear his writing disguise when he's out doing freelance work. That wig and the glasses and the mustache.
That would be amazing.
So, but overall, even with the awkward anatomy on him, I still like the cover. So, it's a good look. All right, we open it up, and the first page we get a little discussion here. Now, we don't know who these people are because we're joining this. Like, I'm guessing you have no idea who they are, right?
Yeah, I was very confused because I did not know anything about him being a children's author. So I was like, what is this? When are we going to get to the actual main character? Oh, that was him. Okay.
Yeah, so on the left side, we get an establishing shot showing that they're in New York, and we see a word balloon here saying, "Thank you for letting me see this manuscript, Eden." And Eden is his literary agent. She's a foxy brunette, and his sometimes lover.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if they had a relationship in the past, and they're still kind of monkeying around on occasion, or if they've just always been casual about it. I don't know. But, and then we see another word balloon here at the bottom where Eden is saying, "You're the one who has to illustrate his books, Mike." Yeah, the lady's name is Mike. It's spelled with a Y. "I thought it only fair you should have some idea of what you're dealing with." And then Mike responds, "At least it's a little easier to understand how he became what he is." And then we see Eden holding a manuscript. And I can't read can you make out the words there on the cover of the manuscript? It's something by Jon Sable, but I can't. I don't know.
Steam over.
Oh, the Steam over Eden, I think, is what it's called, right?
Oh, okay.
The Storm over Eden. The Storm over Eden.
That makes more sense.
Yes. I'll just take Eden's foxy lady, the Steam. But the Storm over Eden. Yeah, because I did see a cover later on where that's on the cover, Storm over Eden. So.
Oh.
Okay. It's all coming together.
True.
But I think this book, like this, I don't think this isn't one of his children's books. I think this is kind of like his biography or something she's showing him. So, Mike.
It's all the times him and Eden made love.
But, Mike, the illustrator, now gets an insight into who she's working with here. And because, like in issue 2, she meets, him for the first time and they kind of butt heads a little bit, but then she cracks the idea that he's pretending to be an author and that he's a mercenary. So I think they're still coming to grips with their professional relationship, the illustrator and him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So Mike's like, do you have any idea where he went? And she's like, I try not to think about it. All I know is when he comes back from one of these little escapades, he usually has a new scar. And even sad. And she's looking out over the city. And she says, but I can tell you.
Came home with a cesarean scar. I was very confused.
And she's looking out over the city all sad. And she says, but I can tell you where he is right this moment, or where he'd better be. And now we cut to page 2 and we see him in his little author getup with the wacky wig and the mustache and the glasses.
Yeah.
And he's on the Johnny Carson show. He's talking to Johnny Carson.
Wow. This guy's big time.
And apparently this is his 4th time he's been on the show. So,
holy hell.
Hearing about leprechauns.
Yep. But he doesn't even really talk about the leprechauns that much. He just makes terrible jokes.
Like when I first was flipping through this book, just trying to pick an issue, I knew nothing about Jon Sable. I didn't know he masqueraded as a children's author or any of this. So when I'm just flipping through the book, just looking at the images, I'm like, who's this doofus with the hair, the blonde hair and the mustache?
Yeah. Who's this weird 70s porn star?
I had no idea. I was like, hey, what's this guy's deal? But yeah, it's Jon Sable in his disguise. So all right, Jank, he's talking to Johnny Carson, but then they have their next guest come up, and who's their next guest?
Well, again, this is a very strange episode of the Tonight Show here because their next guest is a stuntman who is very old.
Now, in fairness, for you kids out there who've never experienced the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson back in the day, it was like the biggest show ever, and they would just have random people on every once in a while, you know?
That's true. Yeah.
But I don't think they would have a children's author and a stuntman.
Yeah, on the same show. That seems weird. Yeah, I mean, I know like you sometimes see clips of like Letterman had like Tom Savini on there and they would do like, you know, makeup gag shit. Like, he'd like show them how to do like movie special effects and stuff like that.
Yeah. But like they would actually just have average people on sometimes. Like just, yeah, this guy works at the deli. They just have him on like every once in a while. It's a rare deal. But, so yeah, it's an unusual guest lineup for the Tonight Show. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But this guy's been a stuntman for 50 years. Holy hell.
He only gets on the Tonight Show once now, and after doing this for 50 years, this other guy writes some leprechaun books, and he's on there 4 times.
And this guy comes swinging in like Douglas Fairbanks from this guy on the rope, and he's got a sword, and he's dressed kind of like a pirate or something. I don't know. He's got a sash tied around his head. And
you make some kind of Douglas Fairbanks reference.
Yeah. And so Carson and him, they start fencing. He's showing Johnny how to fence.
Johnny takes the jacket off.
But he's wearing one of those fencing helmets. And and the guy trips him and cheats to win. And, you know, they're having a good old time.
He smacks him in the butt with his sword there.
But yeah, good times had by all. But during the interview, he's like, hey, who's the best student you've ever had at fencing? And he mentions a few people, and then he says, there's also this young Olympian who is very good, but he kind of fell off. His name was Sable. And
you see kind of the author guy there kind of like mopping his brow, like he's getting nervous. Oh boy.
So on the next page, we see Sable leaving the studio, and there's the old guy. What's this old guy's name? Sonny, I guess, right? Sonny?
Yeah. Sonny Pratt.
And
they call him Sonny.
He's just lounging against the door waiting for Sable to come out. And he's like, oh, yeah, you knew who I was. Thanks for not ruining my secret there. And he's like, no problem, but what's with the Harpo Marx hairdo? And he says, well, in my line of work, my other line of work. And Sonny's like, I get it. By day, the mild-mannered children's author. By night, the fearsome masked avenger. And he says, just the opposite, actually. If anyone knew I was writing children's books, I don't even want to think about it. So he's embarrassed by the fact that he's writing children's books. So Sonny says, well, well, if you're embarrassed about being a children's author, why do you keep doing it? And he says, Sonny, there's just so damn much money in it. I don't know. I think there'd be more money in being a mercenary. I don't know.
Yeah. When rich mob, widows want you to keep them alive, I feel like she's going to pay a lot more than you're going to get off royalties of some book about leprechauns.
I've been the author thing. I'd like to do the mercenary bit. I think that would bring in more money for me.
That might have to be your next job, Mike Grell. You do all those pull-ups. Put that muscle to use.
So, all right, now we cut over and we see, meanwhile, a continent away. A whole continent away? Where the hell is this taking place? I thought this was in the United States.
This must be Europe or something? I don't know.
I just assumed it was in the U.S. I'm very confused.
How does she even get back to the U.S.?
Yeah.
See Sable in a couple issues, or a couple minutes.
Anyway. All right, so why don't you explain what happens here?
Okay, so this woman, Mrs. Stasic, she is in witness protection, and they're getting set to have the trial. I think this is like Friday, and the trial's on Monday, so they got to keep her alive over the weekend, basically. And they're like, "You're almost in the clear here. Once you testify on Monday, then everything will be all good." I'm sure there'll be no retaliation after that, of course. And we're just going to move you one more time to keep you to be on the safe side. So they show her going out to get in the car. They got like a limo or whatever, and two guys guarding it. And they're just like, move. And somebody fires a bazooka at it and blows the car up. And
a guy pops out of a manhole in the street.
Yeah. Blowing out that bazooka around all this methane fumes. Oof. Seems dangerous. But yeah, we get a splash page of the car exploding, and it says Jon Sable, Freelance, and the target. But then we find out that she's not dead because that was actually a decoy. They had planned for somebody to do this, so they sent out a poor
That's a terrible job.
Yeah. Your life is expendable.
Yes. Not important at all. So you're just going to go out and eat a bazooka shell. Cool? Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Not a good gig.
Yeah. So the decoy
probably gets paid less than being a children's author.
And two of the other security guys just got blown up. And then they get a phone call, and the guy's like, "Yeah, don't worry, it was just a decoy, no sweat, nothing to worry about." And he's like, "Uh-oh." But then he looks around, and the witness is gone. She ran out the back door.
Yep. She apparently does not trust their efforts anymore because they're doing a pretty terrible job.
Now we cut to Sonny and Sable in a bar having a drink together, and Sable took off his dopey disguise.
Yeah. Now he kind of looks a lot like Harrison Ford in one of these panels.
Yeah. Again, look at Sonny. That first panel, you see Sonny from the side and he's drinking. What's going on with his arms and his body? And I don't know.
His arms, yes, are quite atrophied. He wouldn't be able to actually lift the drink because his arms have become so skinny.
But now, in the second row of panels, that center panel where you just see Sable's face, that's solid. That's really good.
Yeah, that's the Harrison Ford shot right there. Yeah.
But man, there are times when it's just egregiously awful.
I still don't mind it. I like it for the most part.
And Grell seems to struggle with facial dimensions and where all the pieces of the face should be. His nose is tend to be very long.
At times, yeah, but sometimes it's really good.
That close-up shot's perfect. But it seems to be
far away shots, maybe. Yeah,
when it's not the focus, when he's drawing other things in a panel besides just a face, things get real wonky. Noses tend to get very long, and so yeah.
that shot. There's that shot of the hand, like Sonny's hand taking the cigarette out of Sable's mouth. That's pretty good. It's a good looking shot.
Yeah, because he tells John, hey, those things will kill you, and he throws the cigarette away. And, because, also we should say their conversation. He's like, what happened to you? Why didn't you, aren't you competing anymore? He says, I just got old. And,
yeah. This guy's like, I've been a stuntman for 50 years. What are you talking about?
But Sable gives him his business card. He's like, hey, I gotta go. I gotta catch a flight, back to New York or whatever. But hey, if you're ever in town, look me up. And he gives him his business card. And, that's when Sonny takes the cigarette out of Sable's mouth and says, hey, lay off these damn cigarettes, kid. They'll kill you. And now the next page, we see a plane going back to New York, and we see an establishing shot outside of his penthouse or whatever. And, he's stretching, waking up from a nap. And he reaches for the cigarette. And again, look how long that nose is. Holy fuck. But he just tosses the cigarette away. He remembers what Sonny told him. So he's like, nope, I'm not going to smoke because Sonny told me. And he plays his answering machine, and it says, there's a voice message there, and it says, if you've seen tonight's headline, you'll know who I am. If you're as good as they say, you'll find me. If not, you can't help me. Beep, the message ends. So he looks in the paper, front page, key witness disappears. Oh, I guess what they were saying a continent away, he was talking like just from one end of the continent to the other.
Oh, okay.
Like L.A. to New York.
The length of the yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That is a little weird.
Yeah, she's in New York, he's in L.A.
Yeah. Maybe go, I don't know. Yeah, it's just an awkward way of saying it.
Across the country would have been.
Way easier to understand. All right, so Sable calls. The next page we see a phone ringing and a guy picking up a phone. And basically he calls his, like this guy, I don't know what this guy's job is. He's a little fella. He's a little person. And
okay.
You can't tell in here because he's in bed.
Yeah, he's in bed.
But I was flipping through issue 1 and 2, and like he's a little fella. And he's kind of like his source for all information. I can't remember what he does. But everyone has to have this guy, like Punisher had that microchip guy or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
You always got to have your hookup, your informer somehow. And this guy knows everything. So he's calling him to get some idea about this Andrea Stasic lady and where she might possibly be. And this guy says he wants 10% of whatever he gets out of this.
Yep.
That comes back later, so I wanted to mention it here. But basically this Andrea, her real name was Andrea Hurley. She's 28 years old, and she's from Michigan, and she came to New York with dreams of making it on Broadway, but she became a stripper instead. And she met some... What's that?
We've all been there.
Yeah, I mean, basically the story of my 20s. Yeah. So she meets some mob guy. I forget whatever the Stasic fella, Carl Stasic. Yeah. And he's an older fella, and he likes having the
this is a weird thing. Yeah, she's like, she met Carl Stasic in 1978, and he sort of adopted her. They were married in 1981. Like, what? Some Woody Allen type stuff right here.
But he got out of the mob business kinda. He kinda went straight.
Yep.
And he had to deal with another business partner who used to be in the mob, and that guy tried to cheat him. So when Stasic confronted that guy shot and killed Stasic, but Andrea was there and witnessed it. And then she's been on the run ever since. So that's where we're at. So
Joe Baylor guy was the bad guy who's going to be on trial on Monday.
Yes. So Sable takes all that and he says, "Hey, where's the strip club she used to work?" Oh, this guy he's talking to, his name is Harold, and the strip club's name is Odd Harold's, and he says no relation.
Yeah. That's a weird name for a strip club. I don't know if that would be my first choice.
Odd Harold's.
Want to go to Odd Harold's tonight?
Not really. So Sable goes to Odd Harold's. Again, 1983 comic book at a strip club. Got to be kind of unusual. No?
Yeah. Well, that's true. They didn't do that a lot in Captain America.
So we see, just again, like look at Sable. The third panel, like his head's enormous and his body's small. I don't know what's going on. But he's walking around the club asking the bartender if he's heard of Andrea Hurley. He says, she's my cousin. I'm trying to track her down. And we get glimpses of ladies dancing, but we don't see anything,
see him from behind.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the bartender tells him to go backstage and ask Tilly. And he goes backstage and he asks Tilly. And Tilly's a big, strong bouncer kind of guy.
He's a big bruiser.
So this next page, it's we get a panel of a stripper lady, then we get a panel of them talking, a stripper talking, stripper. But Tilly,
I thought it was weird when Sable mentions he just says Klaatu Barada Niktu.
Yeah,
eating the Necronomicon apparently.
That's actually the line from the day the Earth stood still. When the alien comes out, that's what they say, right? So I guess he's making a little joke about take me to your leader or whatever, one of them deals.
Okay.
I don't know. That's all I can come up with. But, so, yeah, we get, it's kind of again, this is something Steranko would do probably, cut to a stripper action. And basically Tilly throws him up against the wall. He kicks Tilly in the face. Tilly's about to hit him with like a cigarette machine. And
those cigarettes really will kill him.
And then we just see a stripper's butt in the foreground, and she's yelling, Tilly. And then she says, hold up, I want to talk to this guy. And he shows his little Jon Sable freelance business card. And you see it kind of looks like the front cover there, that little box.
Yeah, a little bit.
This is a blonde stripper, and that Andrea Hurley was a hot brunette. So you're like, oh, who's this lady? And so she sees his card, and she takes him backstage, and boom, she takes off her wig, and it's Andrea Hurley, the lady he's trying to find. So he found her quick.
Yeah. First place he looked. No wonder she needs help. Who would have thought she would go back to the same place she used to work?
But he does tell her that, and she looks good here. That's one thing I'll say, Grell, he drew all the women well. I thought all the women looked good.
Yeah, you tell where he put his efforts.
Yeah, for sure. And I, for one, am grateful. But he says, it took me less than 2 hours to find you. I'm sure others are looking. And then the next panel, that Tilly guy gets gunned down. Boom, 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 boom. And she's like, Tilly! And we hardly knew you, Tilly. And he's like, you can't help him now. Come on, out the back. Car's in the alley. And he's returning fire at the guys. And she opens the door, and there's a guy standing there with a Uzi and a silencer. And he's like, hey, and she's just running around this little red silk robe. And he's like, Mr. Baylor sends his. Then we turn the page, and what does she do, Jank?
She shoots him right in the face.
Yes, she
did not have a gun in her hand when she opened the door. All of a sudden, now she's got one.
Shoots him right in the face. And then we cut to Sable. He's gunning down some other dudes in the hallway, and he runs out. They jump in the car, and they're driving away. And Sable looks over at her again. She's looking good in her little robe there. And he says, just answer me one question. She's like, what's that? I just got to know, where did you have the gun?
Yeah.
Where do you think she had the gun?
Good question. Because I know what I'm thinking, but there's no way she would have had time to go and get that and then shoot that guy in the face before he shot her.
In fairness,
he was already standing there with a gun.
On the LCS Hockey Radio Show, we did watch a movie called Bad Men, I think it was called, right?
Oh, Dangerous Men.
Dangerous Men. And it's about this lady whose boyfriend gets murdered, so she takes out revenge on everyone, just all men everywhere. And there's a scene where she's wants to kill a guy, and she's trying to seduce him at first, and she comes out of the shower naked to distract him. And then when he gets close to her, she pulls a knife out that she had tucked in her butt cheeks. And she, maybe this is a similar situation.
A situation like that. The only thing that makes sense for me would be if it was in her sleeve, like under her sleeve. She has like some kind of arms device that slides it out. Otherwise, I don't know how she had time to grab it and shoot this guy when he already had her dead to rights.
It could have been tucked away in a secret device in that flimsy silk robe.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a pretty good little scene there. And so now we see the next page. We see his hand hitting a knocker on a door, and we see another foxy lady. walking to the door in just a shirt. And this is Eden, his agent and lover. And she says, "What's the matter? A big guy couldn't sleep." Oh, hello. And she sees the other foxy lady. And she's like,
I think you could make 3 tonight.
She's like, "Brown bagging it, Sable?" And he's like, "Eden, I don't have time to explain. I need a couple of days of food and the keys to your car." She's like, "My car?" And so he just wants to take her off and hide her. And this Eden, being a swell lady, she's just going along with this,
Yeah. Yeah. I guess he's just leaving his car there, which, I mean, considering they're tracking that car, the whole reason he's getting rid of it was to, because the bad guys are tracking it. That seems like a dick move. Like, she's
maybe they ditched it somewhere else and they went on foot to her place.
Oh, maybe.
You never know.
I would hope.
Because you got to protect this Eden. She seems like a winner. You want to keep her.
Yeah.
But this Andrea, she's really foxy too. And, you can tell, Eden's a little jealous here. And she says, "Well, I might have something that will fit you." But when she says it, she's looking down at, Andrea's bosoms. And it's like she's bigger in the chest. So she's kind of like, upset about this. But,
yeah, she's not happy.
But Sable's like, "Hey, don't worry, I'll make it up to you." And she's like, "You're darn right you will." And, now we cut over and we see them outside of a building that's under construction, it seems. And
yeah, again, another smart move besides going back to the place you used to work. Let's also go back to the place your husband was like murdered, like the building he owns that was under construction. They'll never look for us here. Like, why don't you go somewhere in the middle of nowhere like that nobody would think of?
Well, I guess they got to be in town though to get to the courthouse on Monday morning. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, okay, but still. Like, don't go to the place people are going to be looking for you.
Yeah. He also chose this because the property's surrounded by a fence. There's a fence around it. And, like, it's vacant. Like, there's no one there. It's deserted. So he's like, no one else will get in line of fire if, it comes to that. So he does give some reasoning. Now, whether that's good reasoning is up for
whether that's sound, yeah.
But, so they go all the way up to, like, the 25th floor or something. And, so they got a good view of the street beneath them. And then he sabotages the elevator by throwing an I-beam down the shaft.
Yeah, just picks it up and chucks it like nobody's business.
There's just an I-beam lying around. And he picks it up and throws it down the shaft.
Problem. It's like, whoop, there it goes.
And it somehow sabotages the elevator. And this giant building has one elevator.
Well, they hadn't built the other ones yet.
I guess possibly. Yeah. And then he goes to barricade the steps. He just throws a bunch of junk down the stairs.
Yep.
And he's like, "Okay, we're all secure." And he comes back, and we kind of get a repeat of the pose on the cover. She's doing the same pose, but she's fully clothed here.
Yep.
But they just, chatting it up. And she gives
she kind of telling her story about how her and her husband met and how he was cleaned up. He had cleaned up his act. He was trying to do things legit. And then this Joe Baylor guy just came in and shot him. And I was there when Carl confronted him. Baylor just pulled out a gun and shot him. I ran. I've been hiding ever since. Monday morning, I'm going into that courtroom and put Joe Baylor behind bars forever. If I'm still alive.
Yeah, and she says, people think it's weird that I was with such an old fellow there, but she said, "Hey, he treated me like a lady. He's the only person who ever treated me like a lady.
He adopted me, then had sex with me."
Treated me like a lady. So anyway, they're spending the 2 days there hiding out this weekend, and they got a little lantern cooking some beans.
Her special family recipe for Campbell's pork and beans.
So they're enjoying some beans together. It's just what you want to do with a foxy lady when you're old. Eat some beans. And,
there's a lot of unfinished apartments that have bathrooms, and he can go, do his business somewhere else.
Let's hope. But then they hear some noise outside. They look down. Oh, sure enough, there are 2 cars just unloading assassins. There are 10 of them. And he says it's the first wave. So we see these hitmen coming up the steps and up. They run into the barricade, all that garbage on the stairwell. Thank God there's only one stairwell, too. You know?
Except somehow there must not be, because now Jon Sable is below them. He somehow got down the stairs, so.
Yeah, he pops out on the 21st floor. And I think the barricade is on, he put it a few floors beneath them, so I think it was on the 22nd floor, right? And he just guns them down on the stairway, and he just mows them down. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
But then he looks out the window, and he sees like a metal bucket swinging through the air, like on a crane.
Yeah, like one of those crane buckets, the scooper things.
So he jumps up to the landing to get around the barricade, and he hustles around. And then this is another questionable decision. He just shoots through a wall to make a hole in the wall so he can jump through to get into the apartment again.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know. She could have been standing behind that wall.
Yeah. You don't know where in the apartment she is at this point.
That is a terrible decision, Jon Sable.
Yep. If these are unfinished walls, you could probably just bash through it.
I hope he's a better children's author than he is a bodyguard.
Mercenary, yeah.
This is pretty terrible. But there are guys in that metal bucket. They pop out of the like, I didn't understand this metal bucket situation because it looked like it was like a claw for like picking up things.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's like a giant skill crane claw.
But then they just pop out of the top of it. Like
I guess if you close it, then maybe you can just the top part's open.
But under normal circumstances, when you don't want to be two guys with guns in a metal bucket going up to a skyscraper window, why would the construction of this?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, the whole thing's weird. Like, this kind of crane would not be the ideal situation. Like, if anything, you get a helicopter and like rappel down or something. Not like rely on a weird crane that could open up any second.
But these guys are shooting at Andrea, and she's ducking behind a wall, and then Sable busts through the other wall. And he just rolls through all in one motion, grabs their little cooking lantern deal, and chucks it out the window. It hits the metal crane and bursts into flames. Those two guys are just scorched.
Yeah, they just immediately burn. You know, these guys have been soaking in gasoline apparently on the way right over.
And one of them falls out of the crane, and the other one just engulfed in flames. And he's counting down like all the guys he's taken out. He's like, that's 7.
That's
7. And he shoots another guy who was operating the crane. And he's like, all right, now where the hell are 8, 9, and 10? And she looks down. She's like, oh, there they are. And they're running across the street.
There's Joe Baylor.
Yeah, and he's like, hey, all set up, Mr. Baylor. And Sable's like, uh-oh, I think I know what 8, 9, and 10 have been up to.
Uh-oh.
See, that's a good shot of Baylor there. I like that. What's Baylor doing there, Jank?
Well, he's got a little remote control there, set to explode some explosives that 8, 9, and 10 have been setting up, and the building collapses. Yep.
The whole building comes a-tumbling. And Baylor says, take me home, Ed. Gotta look good for my day in court. And now the cops show up, and clearly this one cop is familiar with Sable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Winters is the cop, because they're looking over the destruction, and they're like, "He would blow up a new building." And he's like, "I don't know, it has something to do with the Baylor case." And then they hear, "Hey, Winters," and he's like, "Huh?" And he looks up, and he sees Sable and Andrea Hurley there in the metal bucket suspended from the crane.
Yeah.
Now look how far
out. Went out pretty quickly.
But how? And he's like, think you can send somebody up here to get us down? And this lady's got a date with a judge. And Winter's like, please God, let me be hallucinating. But look how far away that metal bucket is from the windows of that building.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
you would have had to run up gotten to the roof, run across the scaffolding part of the crane, and then climb down the steel cable into the bucket in a couple of seconds.
And there would also still be a burning body in that bucket.
Yes.
Because one fell out, but one was still in there. So, it's a cute...
The whole thing seems completely improbable.
Yeah, it's very cute, but it makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a reach. If you're trying to be a grim and gritty comic book, this is not the kind of way to go about your business.
Days later, and we get an establishing shot outside his penthouse again, and it's like, someone says, "What are you grinning about?" And Sable's like, "I was just thinking about Harold trying to collect his 10%. And she's like, "What?" He's like, "Never mind, just a joke." Yeah, because she didn't pay him. He just had this sweet, sweet love with her. That was his payment, I guess.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. You get 10% of that.
But again, look at this picture here. She looks good, but look at his face. Like, his eyes to forehead is so small and that nose is so long, and it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, that's fair. But he's also, I mean, it's kind of in the firelight, and it's not a good shot anyway. So you can hide a lot there.
The proportions of his head are just a disaster. All right. So, but then out from the skylight comes in, old Sonny, the 50-year-old stuntman, and he's dressed like Zorro.
Yeah. This was a real non sequitur kind of ending.
He jumps in and he throws a fencing sword to Sable, and he's like, "Defend yourself, Senor Despoiler of Maidens." And Sable's like, "What the hell?" And he's like, "I'd go along with it, kid. We don't want your wee secret to get out now." And he's like, "Sonny, what do you think you're doing? And what's it look like? I'm cutting myself in for a little of the fun." Disarmed. So he knocks the sword out of Sable's hand, and he's like, "Better work on that grip, kid. Take that and that and that." And then he kisses Andrea Hurley's hand, and he says, "Adios, senorita. I must away." And he just leaves the way he came. And she says, "John, who was that masked man?" And we see he's got a Z carved on his shirt now.
Yeah, this guy took the whole Zorro action way seriously.
So
I have no idea what the point of this scene was.
So that's how the issue ends. Next issue, Murder is the Last Resort. Yeah, I probably should read ahead to see if anything comes of the Sonny character, because as long as he's in future stuff and it ties, okay. But yeah, it is odd that he just
him showing up out of nowhere was strange, and there was I don't remember there being anything when they talked earlier that would have set this up, like why he would just randomly dress like Zorro, show up and, do the whole Zorro act and then disappear, like, why?
Well, he did tell him, like, if you're ever in town, come see me and we'll have some fun or something. So I guess he's having his fun. But
I guess, yeah, this is a version of fun. We can't be on the Tonight Show.
I guess they just wanted to end it on a comedic note, but, whatever. So there it is. Jon Sable.
Here it is, Jon Sable.
Yeah. What do you think, Jack?
I don't know if 1984 must have been a particularly weak year for books, but I didn't hate this by any means. It's definitely it's way better than Steel Grip Starkey for sure.
Yeah.
If that's any kind of measurement to go by. But it was, it had a lot of problems with just logic and why he was doing certain things and the way things wrapped up, and there was a lot of problems there. The characters were interesting enough. I guess, if I knew them better and knew all the little intricacies of their relationships, maybe that would matter a little bit more. I mean, I didn't outright hate anybody, and, the storyline, it was kind of like your typical, TV storyline where, just like a Miami Vice episode, I'm sure had the same plot. I'm sure it's been done to death. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Last Boy Scout, except not nearly as funny as that movie is. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, it was fine. I'm not going to put it on my top 10 list, but
like I said, I think to appreciate this title, you have to read a bunch of them. Like they really, I don't know if this is like a one book you can just pick up and think, oh, this is awesome. So, but
I did appreciate that this one, unlike a lot of the ones when I was looking through these issues, a lot of them took place in the jungle. I'm like, I don't really care about that.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, like the first 6 issues or so, they do a lot with his origin and big game hunting and stuff, and that's why I didn't want to pick any of those. And
this was much more up my alley, I feel like.
Yeah, the writing, like the dialogue was pretty good all throughout, and overall, like the characterizations and stuff are good. the basic plot was fine. Just like there was like shooting through the wall blindly. I don't like that. And then the metal bucket. I mean, again, it's a cute ending, but completely impossible. Like,
no way in hell.
Yeah. So I don't know. And he does find her very easily.
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely see why they tried to do a TV show of this, because you can just have different adventures every week, but there wasn't anything here that really made it stand out from other, TV show premises. Like, what was that Lorenzo Lamas thing? I'm sure he did stuff like this, where he's just riding around his motorcycle doing stuff like this.
Was that Renegade or what was that? I don't know.
Yeah, that was it, Renegade. Yep.
But yeah,
Lorenzo Lamas.
So, in like the grand scheme of things, there's nothing groundbreaking here. But again, for 1983 comic books, I guess it was kind of new and innovative. But,
yeah, I can understand that, it being a little bit different for the time. Nowadays, we're just kind of more used to that, I guess.
His art, again, there's some times where it looks really great, and a lot of the women all looked awesome. So, but man, there are just other times it's super amateurish and flat and disproportionate, just not good.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, none of it distracted me. I never thought the disproportionate. I honestly didn't have an issue with it until we really kind of looked at it hard when we were talking about it. I don't know. I mean, I obviously grew up in the 90s, so a lot of things I didn't really care.
Yes. I liked the storytelling aspects of his art that was rock solid. Like, there's never a point where I was like, well, what's going on here? You always knew what was happening. So yeah. That's good. There's a lot to like here, but I just don't know if, like I said, you probably have to read more to really appreciate it, I think. But,
yeah, I can see that. I don't know. It's not one of those worlds where I'm immediately sucked in, like, oh, I need to get more of this. But, it's fine. It was good.
I like, Sable seemed like a nice enough fella as a hero, he's a tough guy, but, he's also kind of like, I don't know, not taking himself too seriously,
He likes Leprechaun.
Yeah, that's right. He writes Leprechaun books. I'm a big fan of Eden and Miss Andrea Hurley, but I'm guessing Andrea Hurley's not around a lot, so she probably...
Yeah, I would assume she's a one-off.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I see the potential in it, so I'll probably give it a much better rating than you. But I'll probably give 7 out of 10.
Oh, wow. That's actually what I was going to go too.
Oh, okay.
So, we're on the same page.
I thought it was going to be a 5.
When you said you were going to go higher, I was like, oh, you're going to go 9 or something. But no.
I thought you were going to go 5. So I'm like, all right, go 7.
Yeah, no, overall it's solid. I had a good time reading it.
Yeah, it was a good book.
Yeah.
And again, this is just issue 7.
Kind of made it more fun, I guess.
And this is too early on in the run, so I'm guessing, technically, did it win top 10 best of 1984? So this is 83 still. So maybe, he really found his stride in 84.
Yeah. So. Yeah. He appeared on, his 5th appearance on Johnny Carson in 84. That made all the difference.
I wonder if there's ever an issue where it's like you get to see one of the Leprechaun books. Like, it's just.
That would be amazing.
I don't know. So anyway.
Right there.
All right, there it is. Jon Sable Freelance from Mike Grell. Give it a whirl. Check it out. I think it's worth, I'll probably read a couple more, maybe, Just,
okay. Yeah, let me know how they go. I'd be curious to see.
I want to see if this Sunny guy shows up again. I want to see what his deal is.
He's just an action junkie, apparently, yeah.
Because if that pays off, if that pays off in a few issues or something, I'm like, all right, he's planting seeds and long-term storytelling and all. But if they just forget him, I'm like, oh, well, that's not good.
I hope he just keeps coming back as different, like, old movie stars. Now I'm Clark Gable.
All right, Jank. So next week, you teased a holiday issue.
Yeah, we're getting close to Christmas. It'll be the week before Christmas when this next episode airs. So normally this time of year we always do, in a tradition started by Mike L., we would do a DC Christmas book.
Christmas with the superheroes every year.
Yeah.
Mike L.
Yep. We did those. You guys did those the first 2 years. Then we did the Elvira Christmas special. We did that great Brave and the Bold last year.
Roasted chestnuts.
Batman. Yep.
Elvira's roasted chestnuts. I remember that, yeah.
Batman was cursing out his parents last year. That was a good one.
Oh, yeah. He wishes his parents, they deserve to die. He was screaming.
They're filthy jerks. Yep. But, I don't know. I was looking this year and I didn't find any DC books that I was really super enthused about. A lot of them in the Bronze Age seemed to either be mostly Superman or Batman related. And I'm like, we do them enough. And I've got other things I'd rather do with those characters. So, I'm not going to go that route. There's the Ambush Bug Christmas special, but nobody will watch that Ambush Bug episode. Got to give that one some space to breathe, I think.
Yeah.
So I was going to pick an Outsiders book. It was like an Outsiders Christmas Carol issue of their book, but I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, we did an Outsiders once, I think, on here.
Yeah. That was like Metamorpho and stuff. I'm like, this could be all right, but it wasn't really, thrilling me too much. So I decided to, screw that this year. We're going to pick a Marvel book.
All right.
And better yet, as my Christmas gift to you and to me and to all the listeners, we're going to be doing the supersized Alf Holiday Special number 1.
Nice. Yeah, I don't like dipping too far back into like the same book over and over, but because we've done an Alf before, but you can always pick Alf. Every week you just pick Alf.
Yeah, and that was like 2.5 years ago, I think. So I think we're okay to do Alf again.
And the first Alf we did was great. It had the X-Men parody with Magneto.
Oh, I'm so sad I missed that. That sounded amazing. Just listening to it, I was like, this book sounds amazing.
The supersized Alf Holiday Special 1, or what it's called? Or?
Yep, number 1 from winter of 1989. So just making the cut there.
Wow. The show was already getting canceled at that point, right?
Yeah. They did another one in like the winter of 1990, so I don't know. They just didn't want to let Alf go.
Who does? I don't know. All right. What a Merry Christmas for all of us.
I know. I think we'll have a good time. So, hopefully there's a part of this book where Alf goes to a strip club. We can only
because there was a great scene in that. What was that movie? The Alf movie, Project
Alf. Yeah.
Yeah, he goes to a strip club and it was amazing. So, that movie was surprisingly good. I enjoyed that quite a bit.
Yeah, it really was. You'd always been afraid of it for years.
Yeah, I never watched it because I knew the Tanners weren't in it, and I'm like, what is this nonsense? But it was actually very entertaining. So, all right, that's next week here on the big show. My buddy Alf. So can't wait. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We appreciate the support. And until then, don't get any jank on you.